So, if you think MAGA isn't noticing, oh, they are. Oh, they are. They might not know yet how to talk about all of this snap stuff. They might still think that Donald Trump is somehow keeping the prices down and it's the evil leftist, socialist, communist Democrats that are keeping prices high in only their local grocery store. But it does seem like they're being affected, and we've said this from the very beginning, that MAGA Republicans are never going to realize it's hot until they touch the stove. Because these are people that, whether it's immigrants that voted for Trump, that they didn't, it wasn't going to be me. It wasn't going to be me that was deported. It wasn't going to be my wife that was going to be deported. It wasn't going to be my friends that were going to be deported or my coworkers. It's other people, the criminals. They don't know it's going to happen to them, so they don't care. And then it happens to them, and all of a sudden they care. All of a sudden, when you're a farmer and you're in Texas and you've been living off that good of having immigrants coming through that you can abuse and you can pay low wages, all of that shit. When all of a sudden those people can't show up to work anymore because they're scared. Now you're affected. Now you care. Now that's why we have all these Trump supporter farmers that are like, brother, come help us. I thought you said you loved us, man. Brenda, he said he loved us. Does he still love us? He loves Tesla. He loves Tesla. So this is what we got for you. This MAGA fan's viral complaint holds the key to ending Trump. Now, this is an opinion piece, just so you guys know. This ain't Walter Cronkite, all right? But here we go. Here we go. Yesterday was election day in much of America. Although the biggest races were in California, Virginia, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maine, and New York City, as a bellwether for next year's midterms, they could define the fate and future of Trumpism. The stakes were enormous and were bleeding through into social media. One of the most viral Facebook posts this week was from a MAGA mom complaining that her Democratic mother-in-law won't loan her grocery money. She explains that she can't feed her family because Trump's government shutdown has frozen her SNAP and WIC benefits, and she wrote of her husband. He asked his mother to buy a can of baby formula until our WIC comes in. Her response was, "You voted for this." Oh, how the turntables. It's crazy. You know, it's so funny to think that the way that MAGA Republicans have walked around and the way they stuck their chest out and the way they've openly talked about the only reason that they voted for Trump was to make the liberals cry. And then when it turns out that the person that Trump is going to make cry are Republicans, now they want empathy. We watched that video. I don't know if you guys watched my stream on Saturday. We watched the video, and I described the exact scenario where MAGA deserves your empathy and the exact scenario when MAGA does not deserve your empathy. If you are a MAGA Republican that voted for Trump and you look at the deportations and you say to yourself, that's fucking wrong. That's not what I voted for. If you look at the way that half of this country is being treated, being called terrorists, Antifa being called not anti-fascist, but a terrorist organization, and you say to yourself, hey, that's not right. Antifa's anti-fascist. That's not good. If you look at the way that other MAGA Republicans treat people like Kash Patel or Vivek Ramaswamy or other brown people and go, you know, that shit seems racist. If you look at what Trump is doing today and you say to yourself, you know what, I think this dude is trying to be a dictator, and you know what, I think that maybe I shouldn't have voted for Donald Trump, I might have some empathy for you. But if you don't look at those things in that way, and if you're saying things like, Trump wants to release the Epstein files, but he can't, it's not his fault, I have zero empathy for you. And this woman, her mother-in-law, probably looks at her and her husband and goes, You're not deserving of my empathy. You don't have empathy for other people in this country. Why should I give it to you? And I've said this over and over again about the left. I said, I love you guys. I love being here with you guys. I've only got about 3 years left until you guys decide I'm too mean to be on your side and you guys kick me out of the party. But while I'm over here, I like being here because you guys are good people. You guys care about people. You guys care about whether or not someone is hurting. And your empathy is your biggest strength because it allows you to understand what it's like to be that person without actually having to be that person. But it's also the left's biggest weakness. And what I'm seeing right now from the left and what makes me so happy is that the left is finally figuring out, nah, I'm going to save my empathy. I'm going to give it to somebody that deserves it. And that guys, that's called game theory. If you've never seen a video on game theory, you should watch a video on game theory. It's called the tit-for-tat strategy. And that is when you have a person that treats you well, and you should always start by treating a person well, then you treat them well. And when that person stops treating you well, you stop treating them well. Because it's very important to treat people well and always give people paths to redemption. When that person treats you badly and you treat them badly and they go back to treating you well, now you're going to treat them badly the next time, but if they treat you well again the next time, you got 2 being treated well in a row, you start treating them well again. Because you have shown them, I'm not going to take this shit from you. And that creates a healthy relationship. It's called tit for tat. It's game theory. You should look it up. The left is learning tit for tat. The left before was just, I'm going to just keep treating you well. Even if it means it hurts the other people around me that I love. Because I want to make sure that people see me as being this role model of my values. What this person's mother-in-law did was tit for tat. The largest percentage of comments were variations on, that's what you wanted when you voted for the orange asshole, but you must have thought he'd only do it to black and Hispanic people. Fuck around and find out. Along those same lines, Trump went on 60 Minutes this weekend and lied to Norah O'Donnell's face multiple times, including a whopper about grocery prices when she pointed out that they're going up and up and up, which is confirmable by looking at CPI. No, you're wrong, Trump lied with his best sincere expression. They went up under Biden. Right now, they're going down, other than beef, which we're working on. Yeah, tell us about it, Donnie. Just like climate change is a hoax, cutting taxes on billionaires helps working people, and you and your sons taking billions in crypto money from foreigners isn't corruptly peddling influence out of what's left of the White House. The simple fact that is in the 1960s, you could rent a small apartment, buy a used car, and put yourself through college on a minimum wage job. I know because I did. This is from this gentleman, right? And here's the thing. People will say to you, guys, and this guy's going to get into it a little bit. They'll say to you, they'll say, you know what? Show me something that socialism has done. Show me any time socialism has worked out. I dare you. Okay. How about Franklin fucking Roosevelt? My wife said his middle name is Delano. Franklin fucking Roosevelt. Okay. How about the New Deal? How about the most prosperous time for Americans in this country? That a good example? How about his cousin, Theodore? How about Teddy Roosevelt taxing the shit out of robber barons with progressive taxes? How about that? But here's the really good thing. Here's the really good thing. People are waking up. People are seeing this stuff. Not just this MAGA lady who finally touched the fire and recognized, holy shit, that's hot. Oh my God, that burns. And other people burn themselves on it. She'll probably never have empathy for those people. It doesn't matter. But people are finally waking up. And polls show that over 60% of Americans that are polled now think positively about socialism. I just watched a video today, and I believe the man's name is Volksreich. but it's a channel that usually does like art history and stuff like that. And he just put out a documentary on Peter Thiel. And you should watch it, because everything that's going on right now is a part of what Peter Thiel and Curtis Yarvin wanted for this country. And whether or not Peter Thiel has now fallen out with Donald Trump because Donald Trump is only sticking his toe or, half his leg in dictatorship and won't dive full on into it because the people around him won't let him. Not because Donald Trump don't want to, but because the people around him are like, no, I have to live here too. They only want to be part-time villains, and then they want to get their bag, and then they want to get the fuck out. But you should watch that. I believe it's called Here Comes the Antichrist, I believe is one of the titles, because he has an A-B title. I believe the other title is The Scary True Story of Peter Thiel. It just came out. It's a really, really good documentary. I'll see if I can pull it up for you guys, and I'll go ahead and get that going. What's up, Boston Brian? What's happening, Boston Brian? But let's get that. Let's get that going. But let's talk about what this guy had to say. After the Hoover administration and their corrupt Wall Street buddies drove the world economy off the edge with the Republican Great Depression, and America elected Franklin Roosevelt to put the country back together, conservatives began to worry aloud about FDR's advisor, British economist John Maynard Keynes. Kinesiology, right? Kinesiologic? What is it? I can't say it. And FDR had this wild idea that it should be possible to create a nation where at least 2/3 of the people were in the middle class. They'd do it by heavily taxing the morbidly rich. FDR raised it to 77% by 1936, giving union power to working people, the Wagner Act in 1935, and providing a solid social safety net, Social Security, a minimum wage, unemployment insurance, and food stamps to create a middle class floor. The programs were universally decried by the GOP as socialism, the doorway to communism, and radically anti-American. Every major social program since the 1930s has been opposed by Republicans. And in the 1950s, Russell Kirk, William F. Buckley Jr., Barry Goldwater, and other thinkers in the movement provided a rationale for their opposition. They argue out throughout the 1950s that if the middle class ever got too large, American society would begin to disintegrate under the weight of FDR's socialist programs. Kirk and Buckley warned that women would forget their place in the kitchen and bedroom. Young people would stop respecting their elders and the value of hard work, and racial minorities would demand social and economic equality with whites. The results would be societal chaos, leading to the downfall of America as we knew it. And that's exactly, here, let's just find that video. Let's find that video. Okay, I'm going to play like a half second of this for you guys. We're going to play this for half a second. But I don't want, it's a very long video.
Net was a miracle. A digital Wild West where information, money, knowledge, and culture could flow around the world with no limits. It promised us a future where technology would set humanity free. It promised a future where power would belong to the individual. But somewhere along the way, that dream was corrupted. As the internet grew to become ubiquitous, the open frontier closed, and the dream of freedom became a nightmare of surveillance, consumerism, advertising, and control.
The Trump administration has tapped Palantir, the data mining company, to compile data on people in the United States for a master database.
The same technology that we had hoped would liberate us began dividing, manipulating, and watching on a scale that was
And then I want to say it's about 53 minutes in here. Let me see if I can find this real quick. Yeah, here it is.
Ops spies in the military to, yes, predict danger, but behind the scenes, they're slowly shifting away the power of surveillance into completely...
So this is talking all about Palantir, and I believe this is where he starts talking about Palantir in Israel.
...private hands with no democratic control over who gets flagged or why, or how to fight back. This type of surveillance is a violation of personal liberty by almost any definition you could think of. It goes against almost every value we've come to expect and understand as Americans. Palantir is literally a magic crystal ball watching all of us all the time, and it was created by Peter Thiel. And part of the reason why it got that big at all is because 10 years ago, Peter Thiel bought the President of the United States. On July 21st, 2016, Peter Thiel took the stage at the Republican National Convention in Cleveland and said,
I am proud proud to be gay. I am proud to be a Republican. But most of all, I am proud to be an American.
He would follow it up by saying, "Nobody in this race is honest except Donald Trump," a statement that was followed by thunderous applause, and from him, a smirk. Peter Thiel.
So I don't want to play, like I said, this is a long video, so we're not gonna do all that. But if you want to know the story, if you want to know why socialism is failing to become popular with the people that it should be the most popular with that MAGA woman who is on Snap taking advantage of a socialist program, who would probably, if polled, tell you that socialism is bad. If you want to know why it's failing, it's because since the New Deal under FDR, corporations have been clawing back every single thing that was created to help the middle class. And people like Peter Thiel's whole thing, Peter Thiel, when he was younger, he wanted a libertarian society because he thought capitalism is the best way. If I'm left to my own devices, I can become wealthy. And he even thought, other people should be allowed to do that. And then as he recognized that he couldn't influence the government enough to get them to allow him to be able to do whatever he wanted in a very libertarian way, he realized if the government's going to control people, I don't want them to control me. I want to control the government. And he believes that socialism and power for the middle class is going to eventually, and by the way, he's right about this, eventually it's going to lead to the middle class, the lower middle class, the working class people rising up and taking the power back from people like Peter Thiel. And that's exactly what's going to happen. And that is exactly why him and Curtis Yarvin and J.D. Vance and Donald Trump and all of these people are doing what they're doing right now. Because they don't want you to know that you could take the power back. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. And check out that video on the screen now.